Okay.
Hey Kishore, congratulations on the 730, Q50 and V39, right?
Yep. Q50 V39. Yeah.
Perfect. So quant has always been one of your strengths, but let's talk about why you joined e-GMAT in the first place. Verbal, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was fairly confident with quant. Initial 2 months, I was basically doing quant, and I was confident I'll be scoring a 50, and if I get lucky, I'll get a 51 quant. But verbal, I gave a mock on GMAT Club, and I think I got a V25 on that. So I was like completely down, and I did not know what to do. And that's when my friend suggested e-GMAT. And yeah, I really love the course and the way it was structured. And I mean, I took a trial period of that and then figured out, okay, this is something I need. This is something that's going to help me build the verbal logic, because I mean, I believe there's a method to every madness. So, and for quant, I could figure that out by myself, but for verbal, I couldn't, and I needed help. So I
So you
got help from
basically
e-GMAT.
wanted to solve verbal like you solve quant, very methodically,
Yes.
very structurally, and be like comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the course, right? So we'll go one by one through the entire course, because you used, I would say, every single file you've done, all files you've scored really well on them. You've done the conceptual
Yeah.
process really, really well, and I must commend you for that. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the course now.
So yeah, I like the way it was structured, specifically the first module, which actually introduced you to the basics of reading,
Master
when to
comprehension.
pause and when not. Yeah, master comprehension. So that really laid the foundation for me, because I mean, when I actually tried the GMAT questions initially, I was just skimming through the questions and then looking at the options and then again reading the question and then looking at the options, and that wasn't happening in 2 minutes. I was not answering questions in 2 minutes. So I figured out, okay, this is something I'm doing wrong. And that master comprehension course actually helped me read a question and basically understand it like math only. Like once you read a quant question, you get things in your brain. Okay, this is X, this is Y, this is what I need to solve. So looking at a master comprehension, I figured out, okay, this is how I need to break English questions and then solve them. And SC was actually more helpful for me because I was very weak in sentence correction and grammar. Uh, CR, I loved the way it is structured because it actually formulates English for you, like how math is. RCA, I did not use RC a lot because SC and CR were basically building blocks for RC, and I automatically improved RC with these two courses.
So let's touch upon a little bit on the master comprehension course, because this is not something we offer free of cost, right? So tell me how that kind of helped you build sentence structure, because that's very, very important when you talk about RC, CR, or even SC, for example.
Yeah, I mean, master comprehension like clearly mentioned where the pause point should be. It basically gave me a formula for pausing. And I mean, I know the course isn't that long. It is basically a very short course. You can do it in an hour or so, but it really helps you build that foundation that is required. It's basically like that preschool that is essential for your upward schooling. Yeah, that's something master comprehension actually does. So
got it. So let's talk about the structure of the SE course as well, right? So I think we build from foundations, and that's something that Rajat and Payal talk about in their free sessions as well. But additionally, what are the things that you took away from the SE course, for example?
So SE course, again, I actually had no idea how to look at sentence correction to start with. SE actually gave me the required components that I have to learn, like modifiers, verb, subject, verb. I mean, I know we studied this in school, but that was like more than a decade ago. And I had no idea, oh, this existed in English. Oh, this is what subject verb is. This is the subject verb agreement that I have to follow to make a sensible English statement or something. So that is something the SC course helped me build. So once I got comfortable with it, with it, I was actually reading through sentences and actually looking at the mistakes then and there. It
Yeah,
wasn't like I was reading and then thinking. Like while reading only, I could figure out, okay, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. So let's look at the option that gets this.
got it.
It actually helps you build that momentum, I guess, to which carries on to the CR and RC courses. So
Got it.
that's
Got it.
pretty helpful.
Is there anything specific that you did in addition to the SE course to kind of augment your SC learning? Like, did you make notes or did you use certain, I mean, how did
Yeah,
you do that?
I made extensive notes for sentence correction because I knew I wouldn't be learning this in one go. I
Hmm.
needed to revise, re-revise, re-revise. So for every concept file that I was going through, I literally made detailed notes. I wrote down the examples, why these examples, like the slides that were shown were in my book. That is how it was. So it's like I could sell my SC notes now. That's how detailed those notes were.
Got it. That's very interesting because not a lot of people
Yeah,
actually do this. They kind of rely on the course a lot. And
yeah.
how often did you revise, Kishore?
So how I did for SC was like I used to do a module in that, like basically subject verb, complete it, make notes, and then look at the application files, do those, do the quizzes. And the next day I would just re-revise everything I did and then go to the next module. And once that module was done, I would re-revise from the starting again, like module one, module two, module three, and then go to the next module. So that basically helped me build up the knowledge base that
Hmm.
was required. So once I started getting to the end of modules like EDMs and stuff, I was pretty comfortable with what was happening before.
Yeah.
And also the application and quizzes that were uh, there in the end of modules, they actually had all these concepts covered in the
Yeah.
starting modules. So that was really helpful work. Like what I was doing, all this revision, it pretty much helped me.
Hmm.
But I think one mistake I did was I did not look at Scholaranium before
Hmm.
I completed the whole SC course and then looked at it. I should have like,
It's actually the right thing. No, no, hang on. It's actually the
okay,
right thing because when people kind of jump to practice, when they, let's say, learn a module and they go into practice, whenever you take a semantic quiz or a custom quiz, for example, it's from all topics, right? So you're
yeah,
eventually going to falter if you tend to practice between your foundation. So even unknowingly, so you did the right thing.
okay,
Yeah, but very helpful because the revision plan is something that not a lot of students do, whether it's SC
yeah.
or CR. They kind of just overlook it, and that's something that should come out very clearly from here. um, Two things. One, what were your takeaways from the CR course? What are the methods that you learned? And two, how did you remember all the SC that you had done while you studied CR?
So for CR, what I did was I did not make detailed notes like SC,
Uh,
but I was basically writing down formulas kind of stuff, how to look at causal relationships, how to look at CR questions where they were reasoning stuff. And actually, the CR module had few outliners. They were basically saying if this is a causal question, these are the options that will be a most probable answer. So I was basically making notes of those, and I was basically re-revising my whole SC notes
hmm,
whenever I got time and doing SC quizzes because I knew SC was a lot to take in and
yeah,
it wasn't going to happen overnight. So I had to revise a lot with
got
SC.
it. And how did you practice on Scholaranium, for example, in SC and CR?
So once I was done with the SC and CR modules, I just opened Scholaranium, wrote some custom quizzes, and figured out uh, I was not ready for answering hard questions. So then I thought I should just do easy questions first so that I build that base and momentum of how to answer
Yeah.
questions. I'll practice the application first. So I did all the easy questions first, and then I again built custom quizzes with medium and hard questions.
Okay. Okay.
So that basically helped me get to a level with easy questions. Basically, I was using all the concepts I've learned, and then I was trying to apply those to tougher questions, and then try to manage and optimize my packet time. So That's
Got
how I
it.
was basically
I
using
think that's
Scholaranium.
very smart as well, because not a lot of people realize that, let's say you're getting hard questions wrong. You don't keep solving them to improve. You kind of say, hang on,
Yeah,
I'm not getting these right. Let me just go to the easier bit, solve them
yeah.
better, and then. So in this process, did you create some kind of error log? Did you kind of do a strategic review? What were you doing while doing these quizzes?
I frankly did not have a error log.
Hmm,
I was basically, I mean, I think I was good with my memory with questions. I
hmm,
could basically remember where I was going wrong.
hmm,
And since my actual Scholaranium preparation was also not stretched, it was
hmm.
basically, I think, for 20 or 25 days.
Yeah.
I felt I did not need a extensive error log for that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Like I basically practiced, easy,
Hmm,
then medium, then hard,
yeah.
and then wrote those cementing quizzes and tried some ability quizzes. And
Hmm,
I was basically short on time, to be frank.
yeah.
So
So I think your
yeah,
journey is also very interesting because I mean you did the foundations well, you knew what was lacking, SC and CR,
yeah,
you practiced that on Scholaranium, and then you got COVID right before you wanted to take the test,
yeah.
right? How did you manage to study during COVID and even after it, and then eventually give the exam and do as well as you did?
So yeah, that story is quite interesting for me because I when I booked my GMAT slot, I had 50 days to the exam. So I was like T minus 50, let's do it.
Yeah.
And three days of preparation, I got COVID. And then I thought, okay, this is gonna go away in 10 days, and then I can study. But COVID was something unexpected.
Mm,
It went away in 10 days, but I wasn't able to study for another 10 days because of the weakness and
yeah.
stuff. My brain wasn't functioning at all.
Mm,
So 20 days wiped off the schedule. It was T minus 30 now. And
yeah.
I clearly knew it's not going to be enough. Maybe I'll buy some more time. So I rescheduled my exam, got another 10 days.
Mm,
And that's when, like, 40 days, I thought, okay, let's give an attempt. Let's give an honest attempt. If I don't get 730 or above, I'm just going to do this all over again and give another attempt in June or July.
mm.
And that's how I went into the exam. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. So I think right up into the exams, you obviously practiced extensively on Scholaranium, and then you took mocks as well, multiple mocks where you actually
Yeah.
improved from, I think you had a 620 as well at a point, and then you had a 680, and then you had a 720 2 days before the test. Um,
Yeah.
how did you kind of learn from the Sigma X mocks, and how helpful are they in kind of giving you that exam experience?
Yeah. Actually, the Sigma X mocks, I think they very accurately simulate the actual GMAT exam because in GMAT also you'll usually get easy questions in the first 10 or 12, and then your question difficulty increases. That's how the Sigma X was simulating. So I clearly knew that I had to focus on the first 10 questions and I had to get those right no matter what,
Hmm,
because I had to go up to a certain level to improve my score.
true.
And I decided 65 minutes, I'll spend the first 35 minutes on the first 18 questions. And once I build the momentum during answering during the exam, I'll use the next 30 minutes to answer the 18 questions. It didn't matter as you know, the next 18 questions are going to be difficult,
Yeah.
but it was fine because once you get to a level, it's okay to go
Get the
wrong with
harder
few
questions
questions.
wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll still improve. It's like you
Yeah.
already hit that 90 percentile mark, so it's now going to 95 or just coming back to
True.
90, which is okay. So that's how I strategized it.
Hmm,
And Sigma X mocks actually helped me realize this because the first two exams I was like trying to answer every question under 2 minutes,
yeah.
and I was going wrong in the first 10 or 12 questions itself. Like I was having 3 or 4 mistakes in the first 10 questions, and
Hmm,
that was bringing my score to V29, V31, and it wasn't going up. So I decided I'll practice, and then this is how I'm going to strategize it. So I think third exam I went to 680,
you did. Yeah.
and yeah, and the fourth exam with practice I was able to do those 18 hard questions in the second half of the verbal section within 30 minutes. I
Yeah. I
mean,
think
frankly,
you.
the last
Yeah.
yeah, frankly the last 4 or 5 questions you won't have time. You just have to skim through,
Yeah.
but it's fine.
Got it. And the beauty is that you kind of got a V38 on that mock as well, which is, I mean, within
Yeah.
1 point of what you scored. So I think a very, very important strategy here, and people can take this away from this is, and this is exactly what I tell everybody, 35 minutes for the first 18 to 20 questions for sure. And then give yourself like 30 minutes for the last 15, 2 minutes per question is what you
Yeah.
need for hard questions on the GMAT when it comes to verbal. If you leave yourself with lesser time, I mean, that's really not going to help. But yeah, that's a very, very absolutely apt strategy to use. And I want to talk about your expectations going into the test. You got a 720 on a Sigma X mock, and you got a 700 as well on an official mock, which a lot of people say is way easier than the test, right? What were you feeling at that point of time, 2 days or 1 day before the test, actually?
So one day before the test, I was clueless. I was hoping a 700 plus, but not sure if it would cross the 720 mark, because I seriously wanted to be in the top 5 percentile. I did not want to just sit down and be complacent with the top 10 percentile, because
Yeah,
I knew most of the schools have a 730 average, like all the top schools. So I just
yeah,
wanted to hit that number and see if I could go above and beyond.
got it.
Uh, but the last 2 days, I frankly revised everything, did not write any tests, just revised, and looked at my past quizzes on Scholaranium and where I went wrong. I specifically looked at the easy and medium questions that I went wrong at,
Hmm.
because those are something that
Smart.
you can
Yeah,
actually get correct if you're doing it right. Hard questions are like a 50-50. To be frank, it is
yeah,
what it is. Like, yeah,
yeah. No, I think that's fair, and that's good advice for anyone who's just sitting 2 days before the test and they try
yeah,
to prove to themselves that they will do well on the test by taking more tests. And that's crazy because you're going to end up really tired for the exam.
yeah,
So very, very good, I would say, very good exam strategy in terms of your timing, in terms of what you did before, and just T minus 30, like you said. So again, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Kishore. And
yeah,
yeah, all the best for all those top B schools you're going to apply to. Stay in touch, and we'll be
yeah,
happy to help.
yeah. Sure. Okay.